you should never eat in front of a child.
I know.
Your child
Just teaching
should,
them bad habits.
Particularly a daughter.
yeah,
I mean,
like just any child. Like you just don't want them to think you need food or water.
Yeah,
you
it's-
want them to think you're immortal.
Yeah,
or
you're
else they won't obey you.
You're showing a sign of vulnerability.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I never show emotion or any warmth.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a good
And
start.
I'll
Hell
eat,
yeah.
but not McDonald's. So I'm working my way up into a complete sense that her father is just an inanimate object. Just,
Now we're talking.
It's traditional fatherhood.
That's
I
right.
think it works well.
did you see The Chosen, where he didn't talk to Robbie Benson? That was all right. So,
Wait, what's that?
well, The Chosen, that book, they made it into a film as well. And all I think of is like Robbie Benson, the father, wouldn't talk to him.
Oh, right.
That was what they did with the Orthodox, the oldest son, to teach the kids some type of humility, apparently, to not talk to that son.
That's good.
Parents.
I think that's good.
Parents used to be so fucking cool.
Parents,
Right. Now-
parents just don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Parents
Now
just
everybody just wants to be friends with their kid.
Yeah. It's like, no, this is a business relationship. That's why parents used to be cool, is because you used to have a farm where you just were like a sustenance dirt farmer and you would starve to death once you reached middle age of 15, unless your kid worked on the farm. And it was, you had a very like polite but a respectful distance between you and your kid because they had to take over for you one day. And now, like,
And on the day your child produces a child, you give them a firm handshake.
yeah.
And it's the most proud moment of your life.
Yeah, they give you a gold watch when you die because that's when you retire.
And if you have twins or, God willing, more than twins, like triplets, you sell them to a circus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
one's
what
probably
Paul
weird
Ryan,
looking.
Isn't it Paul Ryan suggest that? This
Oh
week?
yeah,
Yeah,
he did.
yeah.
He said, you know, I'm doing my part, folks. Which he has 3 kids, but like is
For
he
a
really?
Catholic, for a devout Catholic, that is not doing
That's
it.
not that much.
Basically,
That's
may as well not have kids.
My Catholic grandparents had 9 children. Okay, step it the fuck up, Paul Ryan.
I had a lot of friends in high school who came from families like that.
Yeah.
But it's all going to pick up once they attach childbirthing with blockchain technology, and you get like every time you create a child, you get more some type of like cryptocurrency.
If you get a Bitcoin for every child,
Yeah, it'll be
that's
some
the
type
new
of, like,
Bitcoin.
yeah.
Well, actually, this is a really interesting idea. because-
Kindercoin
That's the
or
new
something
dirt
like
farm.
that.
Yeah, Kindercoin. Yeah, Joy Division coin. But you know, we were talking the other day about how Bitcoin mining is literally cooking the planet right now.
Yeah.
It's like Bitcoin is currently using as much electricity as Ireland,
Yeah.
and within 9 months is going to like exponentially is going to be using as much electricity as the United States.
Yep.
Which is a terrifying thought.
And if it keeps going, by 2020, it will be using as much energy as all of Earth.
That's fucking insane.
They need to stop this. They need to do drone
bring back
strikes on
tulips
these nerds.
and just they're so much more pleasant to the eye.
literally don't see the problem.
Well,
They're
it'll
already
just keep going forever and ever. It's
Yeah.
fine.
they're
No.
stimulating the economy. I literally
It's like the
don't see the
universe.
issue.
It expands eternally, and
we need
Yeah, the universe is fine.
an international team of assassins to go around and murk all of these fucking nerds.
you don't need assassins, though. You could just like hire, you know, a particularly large junior in high school to shove
Wedge
them in a
them.
ditch.
But
If you attach the assassins to blockchain technology, then
but like the idea is that like to mine a Bitcoin, to create a new Bitcoin, you have to like have a computer solve an exponentially harder math equation, and like the processing power it takes to keep solving this equation gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
What could go wrong?
So the new
Bigger is
Bitcoin
better.
mining is just giving birth to a child. So there's no computer processing power.
How come there isn't a blockchain that asks you to answer like essay questions? I would be
This
good
is
at that.
more liberal arts.
Yeah, this is something for us humanities majors. Maybe
You know-
write a personal, like a college admissions essay to go to Bitcoin.
The Norwegian guy who wrote a 900,000-page autobiography about like arguing with his dad would be the richest man on the planet.
By the way, I love how much you know about Carl Nausgaard despite never having read it.
It would be
Which
like
is what you imagine
Carl,
is in that
Carl
book.
Nausgaard. I mean, he's kind kind of right.
Yeah.
Carl Nausgaard and like Elena Ferrante would be like the new king and queen of the world.
That's my kind of world. And by the way, no, I don't need to read the book. Like, I'm just.
I mean, his guess was.
I know it's pretty good.
There's like 200 pages on him like helping his father-in-law move a refrigerator.
Yeah, it rocks. And I'm not going to ruin my understanding of that book by reading it. Like, you could just using the prejudice I have against Europeans, I can figure out what's in there.
Yeah.
During a particularly humiliating and vulgar afternoon, my father told me that there was too much salt in the stew.
By the way,
It do be like that though.
the flesh and hair dams that make up my eyelids can no longer contain my sorrow. That's in Act 3000 of my
that dude
my
is gonna
personal
be-
Holocaust, which is what the book is called.
That's gonna be. He's gonna be one of the Winklevosses of Litcoin. That's what we're gonna call him.
it's your Chapo for the week. You already know. And I'd be remiss if I let it go much further without introducing our guest for the week. Sitting in with us now is host of the Majority Report, Sam Cedar. Sam, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. We wanted to have you on because I wanted to talk about your saga with Weird Mike Cernovich and MSNBC. But I figured most of our listeners will probably already be familiar with what happened. You were briefly let go from your contributing position at MSNBC because Weird Mike blew up a joke tweet that you made several years ago about it was a rape joke, but it was very clear that you were making fun of the defenders of Roman Polanski.
That's right.
And there was a sort of an uproar. A lot of people came out for you, and MSNBC were like, we messed up, and they brought you back. I was worried that there wouldn't be enough of a hook for this because this has already happened. You defeated Weird Mike and
I tried to have
MSNBC.
stretch it out just a little bit longer to maintain the news peg. But I couldn't control it that much, no.
However, Weird Mike delivers. He's back in the news just in time, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. He's back because him and fellow sort of alt-right Muppet Chuck Johnson
Yeah.
tried to blow up this thing where they said they had incriminating documents about Chuck Schumer that were literally copy and pasted from the documents Mike already had on John Conyers.
Apparently they go over it too closely. Yeah, no, I think what it was is Weird Mike was extremely agitated after I got the job back. And advertisers actually came back to my show on the podcast. And I think he was desperate, super desperate to get some type of win because he had really gone on a limb. He was very celebratory after the fact.
Right.
And we keep accidentally dropping on our show him asking who's laughing now and Sam. And we haven't been able to figure out the technology to stop that from playing in the middle of our show. But and so I think he's really panicked. And so you could see it. He was lashing out at a lot of people over the past couple of days. And I think he just got so psyched that he thought he was going to take down another older Jewish guy from Brooklyn. That he went a little bit too. He got over his skis, I guess is what they call it.
Well, what I think is interesting about the reaction to both your firing and then subsequent rehiring is that he went from I got a scout to and then immediately turning it around to saying, aha. I've now shown that I've gotten the MSNBC, I've gotten the liberal media to admit that firing people for satirical tweets is wrong, and I hope that they maintain that standard when they bring up all of my satirical tweets,
right?
Which were as he's now passing them off as sort of meta ironic commentary on the media,
Super
and
meta
and rape
ironic.
culture.
Like, of course, the critique of the media is that you can't date rape someone. That is a classic media critique. The thing about the classic media critique of equality equals white genocide. I think you could pick that up at. I think NYU actually has like an annex class on that.
Look, this is all high level Swiftian satire. I'm sorry if you people can't understand that.
That's right. His whole thing about like, oh, you text a girl that you think you may have date raped the night before to
Yeah.
show some chain of evidence
Yeah.
that you're actually still in contact.
That was an entire segment on Anderson Cooper.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, he gets very uptight about that. He hung up on
the NPR,
on Bob
yeah.
Garfield on the media, which was a coincidence because I had just been in with Bob Garfield and had laid out every single one of those tweets. So it's amazing how he ended up.
Well, there is this.
I never hung up with Bob. It was.
There was this moment like a few months ago where Weird Mike was getting media attention as being like, hey, this guy's pretty out there, but like he's breaking stories and like what does this say about like this is a strange like new Wild West of the media, and there's all these profiles of him, most of which completely omitted all of the shit that anyone who's been following him, like who knew about him for a while, would have said would be like the most salient fact about him. They omitted, like you said, like all of the insane things he said about rape and
seemed
white
like
genocide.
Each piece had one other new element. Like the New Yorker talked about how he had a rape charge and pled down to a battery. You know, but
That was also a satire.
right now,
Classical
That was-
lampooning of the legal system.
That was his modest proposal.
that was back when he was in performance art. And
Yeah.
he was, but yeah, I think that's true. And I think like this is, I mean, this happens over and over again, right? It was the same with Breitbart. It was the same with O'Keefe and that whole crew. And it's just sort of recycles through. There's this sort of desperate need to sort of, to in some way, I don't know, show that the liberal media in some way takes it seriously, the infrastructure of the alt-right or whatever they're calling themselves in this generation, because this has been going on for decades, where the slight liberal inclinations of a reporter or a publisher or an editor, they really overcompensate by saying that I understand. And you know, look, the fact is that Mike Cernovich does not have nearly the followers that I think people think he does, and he hasn't done the reporting as much as he's a bag man for, if I'm a Republican or anybody in Congress and I want to get a document out there, he's far enough away, but I have enough relationships that I can get him a document. And so there's no reporting involved in this. He's like
He's
just
like a
safe-
third-party rat fucker.
Yeah, he's a safe Dropbox for somebody. That's basically what it is.
I'm sorry, but Woodward and Bernstein broke Watergate from their parents' basement. That's well established.
No, it was actually their wife's parents' basement.
Right.
Woodward's whole work was financed by an ex-wife that he got alimony from.
You know, Ida Tarbell actually was the first person to ever say, "Let's get those hearts going."
But I saw you speak while this was going on, and one of the things you said that I thought was I think very good was you said that like in the media there's an instinct to avoid controversy or not take sides, or like they have this. I mean, you know, rightfully so, this idea of objectivity. But I think what a figure like Cernovich shows is that you really can't do that up to a certain point.
Yeah, but it's some type of mutated, bastardized version of objectivity. If you and I walk out at noontime and look up in the sky, we're not taking a side by saying it's daytime, right? I mean, and the tweet was pretty self-evident, and they also had context for the tweet, and I've been working for them or appearing on their network for 14 years. I mean, you know, at one point this would have bubbled up if I was pro child rape by people who were, you know, who had a well-fashioned sense of mise en scène. So I think like this would have come out in something. But there is this allergy to controversy in the sense that like we can't make assessments as to whether, and this just, you know, it goes back to like, Paul Wellstone's funeral, or things like, hey, if we cut taxes, revenue will go up because we'll expand the tax base. This is all bullshit.
What was the Paul Wellstone funeral thing?
Oh, there was some.
Oh yeah, they claimed
Yeah, go. I mean, there was a big myth that that would be turned into this like partisan, like sort of like satanic ritual.
Yeah, they were chanting "off the pigs."
Yes, or something like that, and it was. And so they allowed these sort of lies to sort of metastasize, and it's like not our business to make an assessment of fairly obvious things. And I think that's why there's such a crisis in of institutions in this country, is because no one is willing to sort of say like, we can make some very basic determinations.
Well, I think that's what's going on though with this hyper literal moment we're in. It renders you, you end up hamstrung where you're so easily deterred and dragged down by what is such obviously a bad faith criticism. And you're like, well, I have to be consistent. And it's like, well, no, that person is full of shit. Like, and no one wants to just be like, oh no, that person's full of shit, because they're so scared of being called inconsistent or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they want to always appear to be applying some sort of universal standard to everything, and so everybody's critiques have to be taken at face value.
Right, and the measure of objectivity was never so much about beliefs, though there is a standard of belief for it. It's more stylistic, and if you break down what the actual beliefs are of, like, let's say, take for example CNN, which I think is sort of the most ridiculous example of a network that's obsessed with this bizarre idea of objectivity to the point that everything they do sucks and you feel like you're getting cancer by watching it. I know that I do. So they had Barbara Starr there for God knows how many years. And Barbara Starr, she fits all the criteria you would want in this measure of objectivity, which is to say she never says anything outrageous or controversial to people. She's never going to like have a tweet where she's like, Porky Pig can get it, whatever. But
which is objectively true.
It's true. That's my point. Is that shouldn't be controversial. But no, but what the content of her commentary for CNN for all these years was just absolutely insane military hardware sales jobs and this push for endless destabilizing war that is, the policies she pushed for are responsible for much of the horrors of the world we're in today. But because she fit this criteria of objectivity, which is to say she was never too mean to anyone, she never said anything too outwardly outrageous, she was always polite, and she always respected her ideological opponents, it's okay. Whatever the policy implications of what she believed, or just straight up doing sales jobs for Raytheon on air, that fits that measure.
Yeah, and what's changed, I think, is social media has changed the dynamic where there's like a broader context that will determine what is controversial, and part of it is also that we're so polarized. But I think what you're describing with Barbara Starr is really the reality of just about all news on broadcast media, essentially, because that's who's paying the rent. And, MSNBC used to be owned by the largest military, the largest defense contractor, I think, probably in the world, General Electric. And so, I've never experienced any editing of what I'm doing, but the bottom line is, if there was an element that was too problematic, like anybody who owns anything, I think you're just going to get rid of it. And so that's an ongoing, consistent, not going to change problem. I think that.
Yeah, lowering risk and covering your ass is like a pretty long-standing thing. Yeah. But the degree by which they're measuring risk at this point has become so absurd.
Yes.
Yeah,
they've been outpaced by technology, I think, by social media.
But for back to a figure like Cernovich, who is an obviously laughable, deranged person. I mean, we've been a fan of his on this show because
this is a Cernovich, as he has said, this is a Cernovich fan podcast,
because I regard him to be one of the greatest morons on the internet, one of the greatest figures of there's no
not even a big deal in his field, but we are nothing if not cult classicists.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So he's got a special little place in our heart.
because it's just like there's so much comic potential in any person where like the gap between how seriously they take themselves and who they are
Oh, yeah.
could not be greater in a figure like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different. I once saw a video by Danny Aiello where he was responding to Madonna's video, "Papa Don't Preach." He played the father in that, and
yeah.
he didn't like the message, so he made his own video as the dad. And it reminds me of Cernovich in the sense that like at that time in particular, this is pre video, digital video, to see that level of production value intersect with that level of insanity.
Yeah.
And Cernovich has that quality too, where it's like, wow, this is a guy who's like could literally be out in front of Barclays just barking at you about something. But he has this big platform now. And so he's got that quality of like nuts and sort of has transcended just like what you would expect someone who would just be not able to leave the house. Maybe he doesn't leave the house, but
It doesn't look like he does very often.
he videotapes it when he does. Though. I've seen
Yeah.
that.
I want to bring this up real quick. Like I said, like in this sort of universe of sort of provocateurs and rat fuckers, like I mentioned Chuck Johnson already. Are you guys aware of the ongoing feud between Chuck Johnson and Roger Stone?
Oh, I hate it when my friends fight. It's so
You have to
awkward for
choose
me.
sides.
Mom and Dad, no.
Yeah.
So, like Chuck is, he's gunning for the old boss
Right.
of all of this, Roger Stone, and he's coming for his spot. And Will Sommer, who we've had on the show, Chuck Johnson posted this on his Facebook page. He's literally posting text messages between him and Roger. And he
Man, I'm a messy bitch, and I would do that. You know?
not kidding. So I'm looking at this now. Chuck Johnson.
Roger Stone is a thought.
Yeah, he is a total thought. Like he is. Yeah, he's a late night hoe. He's an entire hoe.
So Chuck Johnson literally texted Roger Stone a photo of money of just stacks.
Hell yeah, dude.
Just racks.
Hell yeah.
Racks on
Baller,
racks.
baller.
And he said, "That's walking around money. I will bury you, old man." But
Hell
bury
yeah,
is spelled
dude.
bury. I will bury you, old man. And Roger responds, "People who really have money don't brag about it. It's a telltale sign that you got shit. You're out of your league. You have no social skills, no friends, and no credibility. Go fuck yourself, you little autistic, warped retard." And Chuck responds, "You are finished, Grandpa. Time to turn over the keys. I know you gave up being a real man when you begged others to fuck your wife, but really it's sad."
Well, guys,
God,
we were having fun, but Chuck Johnson just kink shamed Roger Stone.
It's not okay.
It's not okay.
I love that you would publish that. Just look at this pathetic slap fight. Don't I look cool?
And then Roger says,
I mean, to be fair, that's like 10 years of hip hop. Like,
Yeah.
I like how Chuck Johnson, it's not enough to call him a cuck. I'm going to explain what it means.
and he goes, Chuck says to him, "Do you want me to take your house from you?" And then Roger responds, "You shall sleep with the fishes."
I love this is my favorite type of person, which is like the type of person who watches like the Godfather movies, then Goodfellas and The Sopranos, and they're like, the moral of all of these stories is that these guys are cool, and I need to be like them, and they're right.
nothing
about-
ever goes bad for them.
Yeah, the moral of Goodfellas is that Henry Hill kept all his friends and his life, and he never regretted anything. He wasn't a loser with no friends who had to live in Omaha at the end of it. It was fine. I'm the type of person who goes into any restaurant that has cloth napkins and silverware, and I'm like mob boss shit. I'm Don Godfather Corleone Goodfella.
That's funny. Sam, did you watch the Roger Stone Netflix documentary, by the way?
No, I didn't.
It's definitely worth seeing.
I've heard
It's
good
great.
things.
It's definitely worth seeing. And
wonderful.
to the point about how, he's like a boss Godfather shit.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Ember you pointed out when he visits his mother in Florida, who's like a million years old and basically nonverbal, and he goes, "This is my mother here. Say hi, Mom, to the liberal filmmakers. They're making a movie about me." And he goes, "This is my mother. She lives here year round. I take care of her." And he goes, "You ever seen The Sopranos? You know Tony's mom? She's like that, basically." And she just goes, "Wow."
You know what?
But he clearly thinks that that's a compliment he's giving his mom, that
Yeah.
she's like Livia Soprano.
That she has borderline personality disorder isn't an endearing, and then she ribbits because her brain is fucking quitting at this point.
That is the absolute best type of guy in the world. Like I want to brag about Chicago again. I did it last week. Chicago is the capital of people who think that they are in the mafia because they have more than 3 male friends and use the word respect a lot. And it's the best type of guy. I've been one of those guys when I was
The
15.
respect economy.
Yeah, it's the respect economy. Yeah.
The New York Post's film critic, and now he's with the National Review, and he currently has actually a podcast
Kyle
about
Smith?
movies with Ross Douthat.
Kyle Smith?
Can't wait to hit subscribe to that one. Kyle Smith. A while ago, he wrote a piece for the New York Post, I think, about Goodfellas. And it was like, this conceit of it was like, why women don't get Goodfellas.
Oh, my God.
And the whole point of the piece
It's
is
just
like,
too complicated.
it's women don't like it because it's about guys. It's about guys being guys and having friends.
Real guy shit. Like
And I read the
murdering one of your
article-
friends and putting him in
and
a
I
fucking
realized that
trunk of a
what Kyle
car.
Smith was most impressed about with Goodfellas is that Henry Hill just has friends and goes out and has fun with them. And he's like, imagine that. It's the ultimate male fantasy.
That was it. That was it. Like when I would
Going to dinner with people who
Scene in
respect
prison
you
where they're
and
cooking
like
the
you.
pasta. It's so awesome.
I could go to a restaurant and I could get food like that. If I was one of those guys.
Imagine going to a restaurant, ordering food, and not just sitting there by yourself looking at your phone the whole time.
Well, that was like when I was a kid and I would watch The Sopranos. Like I would think it was just a show about guys being cool most of the time because it's like, what you mean he can like drink and like have sex like at least once a month? I can't put up those types of numbers right now. I need to be in the fucking mafia. That guy's so fucking cool. And now, as somebody who does those, like who has sex up to 5 times a year, I'm like, I don't need to be in the mafia.
I think that's what it's like. It's the for earlier generations, like I want to be like a cowboy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all this sort of weird male fantasy, and it's why
If they only knew what basic adulthood was and how rewarding that was, it's like you can just call people over and play Mario Kart anytime you want. It's fine.
you can go and have a drink. You don't
Yeah.
have to like. It's just a weird. I don't know. It's sort of like I want a Jeep, and I want like there's this whole mentality of.
I think there needs to be a pretense to friendship for men, otherwise they don't understand it.
I think the friendship thing is just sort of is a fig leaf. They just want to be tough in the sense of being.
Oh no!
buff.
I
I think
think
you're
the
totally right.
toughness is the fig leaf for the friendship. Like I think it's the other way around. I think literally because if you look at the sort of guys that get obsessed with mafia shit, like most of what they want is to hang out in the back room and quote movies at each other. Like that's
Yeah.
30% of The Sopranos. Them hanging out in the back room and quoting movies at each other.
I mean, there is something to it though, because like when you're a kid, the most purely fun thing you do is when you have no obligation hanging over your head. It's like the weekend and you're like bullshitting with your friends or you're playing Operation Flashpoint, is all normal kids do. Like I did. But it is because your entire life is like obligation. Everyone has power over you. Especially when you become super aware of that when you're like 16, 17. And so the most freeing thing would be if you existed outside of the economy and society like a mafia guy. But also, young men are fucking awful at everything. Like, that's the biggest
They
thing.
don't have any skills.
That's the biggest thing I remember about being 19 was like just all the time being like, I'm literally not good at anything. And no one's ever going to fuck me because I suck at everything.
But then
And
you grow up and then if you discover you don't have a natural propensity to toughness, which is what you have convinced yourself through like your literary consumption is necessity in order for you to make friends, you're like, oh shit, it must be the feminists and the brown people that took it away from me.
Right. Yes, I think that, but but I mean, it's also though. I mean, I think like this is sort of interesting because we are talking about this resurgent like bright populism and like the online right wing stuff, and I think like a lot of it has to do with one of the biggest things you want when you're young and you feel like you suck at everything and you have no future is that you A, want camaraderie, and B, you want people to be afraid of you. If you can't gain the respect of society, you can live outside of it and live
You
outside
want
of its
the
confines.
respect economy.
You want their respect economy, but you also, your shorthand for that is for people to be afraid of you. And I think it's not a coincidence that like in the other sort of resurgent far right movement in the world, like violent political Salavism, it's a lot of just fucking socially dislocated kids from like London and Belgium who are like, yeah, I'll go be fucking cannon fodder for the caliphate. At least people are afraid of them.
Yeah. I'm going to get a wife. I'm always going to hang out with my friends all the time. I will probably die very soon.
Speaking of this, I mean, obviously one of the big benefits to being a Mike Cernovich or a Chuck Johnson is all the friends you have.
Right, of course.
And, like just all the fun you get to have hanging out and stuff. But I'm wondering, this is something that we were talking about a little bit, but I'm wondering, I want to ask you, Sam, like, you do your show, you stream on YouTube live, the show, right? In your sort of dealings with these various YouTube people like Cernovich or the Chuck Johns, because YouTube is dominated by the right wing. It is like a right wing medium in the way like podcasting isn't, because it's tailor made for the socially isolated and weak willed.
That's right.
That's not true. I watch YouTube all the time.
But like we said, like the Prison Paul, it's just a guy talking at you. And it's not like you're listening to it on your phone, like while you're doing something.
Right.
Like, it's just you're sitting at a desk watching a guy talk to you for 3 hours.
It's simulating friendship. It's like, here's a guy in my room talking to me, having a conversation. And that's really the only way that can happen to me.
Is that just simulating eavesdropping on other people's friendship?
Yeah.
No,
They both have the same element, but I think that it requires a certain extra level, because people who listen to podcasts are often doing something else while they're doing that. The degree of alienation required to get something back from staring at this fucking dumbass's puckered butthole mouth in front of his stupid map for 3 hours.
Present company.
I've always said like that we're in the making people's commutes bearable business.
I'm not. You know what though? I don't
Also
think
the
it's
gym.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I think even if you're doing it while you're doing something else, I think we do live in an unusually lonely era in the world.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not
pretty alienated.
I'm
This
not
year.
It's very
convinced
alienated.
that I think YouTube is really problematic for our political discourse.
Oh,
because
bomb it.
I mean, like when blogs first came out, there was this concern that there's no editors and whatnot, but the comment sections of blogs are, at least from like a medium perspective, almost on par with each other. But the YouTube, people watch the video, the comment sections can't compete with the video. They're not in the same medium. And it just means that YouTuber is not held to account in the same way that a blogger would have been, because it's just as easy to consume the blog post in the comments to realize like, oh, this guy's or this woman's full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. It doesn't happen in the same way with YouTube. And so I think it's really just it's just a lower common denominator, broadly speaking, and it is more viral. There's no audio, there's no virility to audio, but like a 3-minute video, a 7-minute video can travel for whatever reason.
Whatever, like Paul Joseph Watson or one of those guys is like, we're killing the left on YouTube, and it's like, yeah, they're doing a lot better than like most left content on YouTube. But their videos do like a tiny fraction of what the biggest genre on YouTube does, which is like people who are famous as vloggers that literally get like 20 to 30 million views, which is fucking astounding. And there are these, I got very interested in this group of people. There's this one guy who's like, he's a lot funnier than the other ones and he's a lot wittier. And his videos are mostly, he's replying to other people who make vlogs who he thinks sucks. And it's called Content Cop. And it's like, and it's like, I watch them and it's like, this guy's actually like, his editing is very good. He's very funny. But this is like kind of a mind numbing world, because it's like at the end of the day, you're like, this is a community of people who like argue with each other, take the audio track, then lay it over like footage of them playing Doom or something. And it's very like a very small world, but also has like literally 200,000 times more of an audience than like us. And I think that like
It's all gossip.
Yeah, it's all gossip,
insular
yeah.
gossip, and I would say half of the political commentary on YouTube is
Messy
maybe
bitches who love
three-quarter-
drama.
Yeah, no, it's all, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all insular gossip.
Well, I haven't like investigated this extremely closely because like I get like nauseous really easily, but I know that the fights they can have in the comment section of these YouTube videos go on for eternity.
Yeah.
Like and they aren't like the way like Gawker comments used to be, where people will be like, and here's my rebuttal. Like they're just like, yeah, you know what, fuck you, your mom. And that will go on forever and ever. And you think like, how long can this go on? And the thing is, it can go on forever. And I think like my thing was like, if I ever produced content for YouTube, I would immediately turn off the comments. But they are benefiting from this kind of weird festering like sore of a crowd. And like that is how they sort of reproduce their audience is through gossip and like bitchy
the
personal
algorithm
affront.
too.
Yeah,
I mean that's the problem is that we're not a YouTube show, right? We're a radio show that we put it on there to get the extra revenue, and but shows that are built for YouTube have even are more sensitive to their viewership and their ratings than even the corporate media that they usually rail on. It's like, oh, these words in the title and this topic will travel. That's what I'm going to go for. And I'm also not convinced. Like Cernovich, half of a buddy of mine's a sort of a techie, and he just sent me a report after like day 2 of the Swarm, and he said at least half of them are bots. Half of them are bots. Everything is just and. He's buying these things. And so it's just so weird how much of this stuff is gameable, if you will, and how much it sort of defines our society.
it's like an automated hype machine.
One of my like more crank opinions about the internet is that I kind of don't think it's the best thing for most of the internet to be in the same 3 or 4 places. I don't think we were ready to break down the barriers of everyone being on their own forum or blog community or whatever the fuck to having hundreds of millions of people sharing spaces on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, because there hasn't really been a growing of understanding. Every time communities run up against each other, it's just psychosis and weird posting warfare. And the result is that people become more clannish because they mix with the worst aspects of each other, and they tend to self-isolate more inside these very huge networks where
Lets you dig the ghetto deeper.
you dig the ghetto deeper, but also everyone's watching you all the time, and you're watching them, and no one's enjoying it. It alters the way that everyone posts and conducts themselves. No one will have an organic. Some of the funniest writing I've ever read, like, you're all going to make fun of me for this, but some of the funniest writing I've ever read has been on internet forums. Because
You could have said the only writing I've ever read.
We're going to make fun of you for so many other things than that.
I'm right, though. Like everything that I say, I am right.
Here's my question, and I know we've talked about this before, but like Sam, have you ever you've done well with the radio show and podcasting, and so have we. But there's this huge audience out there. Have you ever considered making a pivot to the right and becoming a YouTuber? Because like this is what we were thinking. If we did it, I'm convinced that we could have a huge percentage of their market share in about 3 to 4 months.
Just by being able to like
just by
talk
being-
to
yeah.
people.
If I could actually like just empty out on this table how much brain power and plotting I've spent contemplating that over the past 10 years, it would be really disturbing. Like like leaving Air America, I was just like, it would be a 2-year project. I have to have some inciting event like that's turned me like I saw how ugly they were. They criticized my sneakers, and I was like really pissed about that. And then they were all dicks. And then I
They said my
realized
pad thai was cultural appropriation.
some because that's what you have to be. You have to have some sense of aggrievement, and it has to be somewhat
You have
personalized.
to have a bullying story.
Right, that turns you, and then you slowly creep into it. In fact, like there's multiple models of these
I was gonna
people
say,
out
like,
there.
My model for like the hustle that because like you have to pick a type.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain categories of these people, and like the type that I would be aiming for, and I think you're along the same lines here. Like the guy whose hustle I respect the most in that is that Dave Rubin guy.
yeah. Yes.
Dave Rubin.
King, yes.
Who's like you know. Like I'm a classical liberal.
I'm the
He's the
last
last
liberal.
the last liberal. The last
He's the
liberal.
last liberal.
And he just has his show is him just having one-on-one interviews with Mike Cernovich
Yes.
and just literally just being like
Somebody sent me a clip
Yeah.
where Cernovich literally says in 2016, I really feel strongly about this thing about digging into people's tweets and it has to end. Like somebody just sent me that yesterday. With Rubin, Rubin's also, the thing is this, here's the problem that you would have. No one here in this room is dumb enough to be able to maintain it for long. Like, I think Rubin
I'll take
really
that challenge.
genuinely believes. Like, I was going to tweet out to him, if Dave Rubin had any integrity, he would have come to my defense. If he had any intelligence, he would have pretended that he had the integrity to come to my defense. And he doesn't. It's so transparent, but it will work. He's got a book coming out, and so he attempted to sort of like tack to the center and be Larry King, and now he's realizing like I need a platform, and so you see him sucking up to like Ben Shapiro and Larry Elder, and it's just so transparent. But they have a totally different ecosystem. He's a guy you would model it after, and Rubin had his sort of like inciting event when he had to fall out with Cenk Uygur. It's just insane. And now he gets a lot of his funding from the Koch brothers through some type of lean liberty program out of like some university in Pennsylvania.
Hell yes, let's get that cheddar.
Yeah.
I think I could go. I think Will would be really good at the Rubin Report type thing because he's a good interviewer. He can keep the thing going, and he'll be.
you know, generally cowardly and servile towards stronger-willed people.
Will, I can see you right now saying to Ben Shapiro, in my mind's eye, I can see you saying, "But that's ridiculous. If it's true, how can it be offensive?"
Matt would be the angry screamer.
Yeah,
Like,
Matt-
he would
Matt would
pivot
be like
to-
a Mark
I mean, 'cause
Levin.
that would be a really huge transition
No, no.
for him, but that's like a genre, like
Yeah,
the
one of those
screaming at the
heads,
dashboard,
those yelling
Yeah.
heads guys.
like you would do the Mr. Dapperton thing.
Right, yeah,
You
I
have
would-
like sort of behind some sort of cartoon character that's like a mix of like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but he's like punching a Muslim or something.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
it's hard to top Mr. Dapperton with his Deathstroke mask and purple 3-piece suit and top hat. But I think I could do it. I don't know, like maybe like a leather daddy mask with a zip mouth open.
The Freedom Gimp.
Yeah, the Freedom Gimp. Yeah, like I escaped from the torture basement of liberalism, and I'm here to tell you about what they're doing to people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you could do videos where like you're responding to like a video of like somebody petting a golden retriever, and you'd be like, "They're violating the NAP. This is bullshit."
Yeah, there's some local news story about kids who have a lemonade stand to raise money for a classmate who's got cancer, and they're like, "This is bullshit. You should be saving that money for yourself, or you can grow up and use it and then be successful. Now this person's going to live, but you're ruined because you don't have the money. If you invested that money in Bitcoin, you'd be a millionaire by the time you were 18.
I would say
You
Felix,
just read local news. You'd be local news guy.
Yeah.
Felix would be like the racist Twitch streamer.
I don't-
Yeah.
I think I could be good at that, but I think I would zig where people would think I would zog. And
Very well done.
thank you. And I would be a neo-reactionary guy called Gaius Leviathan XV. I would not say 15. When people corrected me, I'd be like, that just shows how stupid you are.
So
Yeah.
the
You're moving,
gaming,
you're
though.
moving
I
into
mean,
the Sargon of Akkad territory.
Yeah,
You know that dude?
yeah, he's
Yeah.
also insufferable.
My icon would be, like a fucking Roman statue.
marble bust of Machiavelli Sun Tzu.
Yeah, Machiavelli Sun Tzu. And I would make videos where I'm like deconstructing the cathedral's gender myths.
Yeah, and then you'd pretend to listen to classical music all the time.
Yeah, and it's literally only Hans Zimmer. This is my favorite classical musician.
I
Kinda like
think
me
it's
now.
pretty obvious where I'd go. I'd say you all sexually harassed me, and I've learned that this is what the left has to offer women. and I would rule the internet.
Oh yeah, you.
I
my
would-
God,
I would
yeah.
destroy with that backstory.
You would
Yeah,
say-
not to be
you'd be
sexist, but that is
huge.
the easiest grift.
Yeah.
is
You would
to
send
be the
Laura
right-wing
Loomer
woman.
and Lauren Southern and all those girls.
Instead of packing.
They would be
Yeah,
at the fucking.
they'd be done for.
They would
Done.
be at the
Yeah.
unemployment line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Immediately.
and also like these guys are so reverent of women that it wouldn't even matter that I look like Wendy from Mario Kart.
Once,
Google it. Google
once you
it.
get the full blonde hair,
Yeah, I'll
and
go
then-
all the way
Right.
blonde. Yeah, no, I mean that's the easy grip. It
You could be
kind
on
of
Fox
surprised me.
News, I feel like, in 16 months on that trajectory.
It kind of surprised me actually that none of them have really done that. Like they kind of like
Cassandra Fairbanks did.
a little, but I mean she was
What do you
like
mean, like go from left to right, or
yeah, but then like be like, oh, the reason I have to go right is because these are the only men that protect you. If they really played that up, that's how you make that big
Yeah.
money.
There was a guy who did it. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he made these videos in 2008, I think it was, that went really viral about John McCain. And he got hired a little bit at Talking Points Memo, and then something happened, and he discovered how horrible the left was, and he then sort of was taken under Andrew Breitbart's wing. And he was at Occupy trying to find scandal with Brandon,
Brendan Darby?
No, Darby's partner, and I can't remember his
is it
name.
Lee Stranahan?
Stranahan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And in fact, like I think I had Stranahan on my show at one point because I was just sort of fascinated by that he was actually doing this. And then I started to realize, like, and I felt a little bit bad too because he also simultaneous or just precipitating his ideological shift, which was based upon how mean the people were on the left. He was also teaching like an online vlogging course. And so you could send away and also get special effects. So I think like, in particularly then, like video special effects. And I sort of came out of that video
Like,
production
comes
world.
with like a star wipe.
Yeah, no, he had all of it, and it never worked on the DVD that I bought. And like I just said, just keep the money. But I just saw this going, and it was sort of sad. Now I don't know what he did once Breitbart died. He sort of lost his mentor.
I forget what protest he was at, but he was woke for like
That was
3
Baton
hours.
Rouge.
Yeah, in Baton Rouge, he
Yeah.
was like, "The police arrested me for doing journalism."
Oh, right,
They
recently.
do this to black people too.
Yeah.
I'm not racist anymore. And then the next day, he's like, "Sorry, guys, still racist."
Isn't he
Yeah.
also
Back to
one of those
racism.
You
dying
gotta watch for
pundit
those
guys who
seekers.
has
Yeah.
like diabetes
dangerous
and his
people,
toes are
like-
falling off or something? I remember reading an article about him. He went to investigate that story in Idaho
Pig.
about the
Pig
migrant
something.
Yeah, but he's got like a bunch of ailments.
It's possible.
He'll never beat our boy, the Gateway Pundit.
No, he's the dyingest of pundits.
Yeah.
He's the eternally dying pundit.
That's a good hook. I've only got a short amount of time.
Please subscribe.
Yeah.
Oh, we can do Virgil's sick. We can do that with him.
Yeah.
Everyone, Virgil's dying.
Got the hearts going for our boy. before he dies.
I'm the person most affected by this. This is Virgil's best friend.
And your
it's like-
DMs are open.
Yeah, he dies. He doesn't have to deal with losing me. I have to deal with losing him. It's worse for me.
Virgil can't.
It's making me right wing right now. The trauma of this is making me conservative.
Here we go. Lay those scenes out. Yeah, Virgil couldn't. The victory went to his head very quickly, and now he's sick.
Yeah, yeah. He drank too many root beers.
By the way, Felix, I don't know if you saw this. This is just a little bit of breaking news. I'm sorry if I have to break this to you, but popular Twitch streamer Dr. Disrespect live streamed his emotional apology to his wife and the Slick Daddy Club for being unfaithful.
Nothing says sincere apology like live stream. That's what every woman wants.
I just want to let my wife and all the members of the Slick Daddy community know that I'm sorry for letting them down.
I've seen that one, and I'm kind of confused about it because it's like, would the audience of a Twitch stream like care if like their guy cheated on their wife? Is that like a new thing?
All he has to do is say, "I used a cheat code."
Ooh.
All right, fuck off.
No, I mean,
I try to meet you animals halfway with the fucking gaming references, and I get nothing.
this is what's going to make Matt conservative.
Yeah,
We found all our hooks in this episode.
yeah.
We're
No,
big money players.
I would
We're all
definitely.
ready to pivot.
Yeah, I would become one of those like, oh, the degeneracy of gaming. Why aren't you reading books?
You could be a good NRX guy.
Yeah.
I think, racist Twitch stream for me. That's big money. I'm gonna finally be able to leave this awful city when I start my racist Twitch stream.
So we're talking about like streaming and the internet and things like that, which is a good segue into the net neutrality thing this week. Obviously, that's more bad news. I mean,
It's not good, folks.
yeah, it's bad. It's bad all around. And because of the net neutrality thing, we've all now been introduced to a guy named Ajit Pai, who is in a very short amount of time become, for me, one of the most nauseating human beings on the planet.
Oh my fucking god! It's like he takes this very like 2010 like 9gag internet culture where it's not enough for him just to issue all of Comcast and Time Warner's policy positions through the regulatory body. He also has to be like, oh, don't be sad. Did somebody say Opa Bacon style? Here's a troll face for you. And it's like,
I have not kept up with this, but is he
This
early 2000s internet?
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah, he did a Harlem Shake video.
I want to talk about this. Okay, our one of our favorite guys, Benny Johnson, who is now reporter at large for the Daily Caller, had a piece this week called "Ajit Pai wants the internet to know you can still Harlem Shake after net neutrality." Amber, just look at this image here, and then immediately go mad from its horrific revelation. He's in a Santa costume with a fidget spinner and like a Nerf gun, and he's like, unregulated.
How do you do
This is a
fellow
genre.
kids?
This is a classic genre. Like they did it. Like Simpson did this when they were trying to sell Simpson bowls. He did some video that was just like it was.
Crumping for the deficit.
No, the big Korean song that went.
Gangnam Style.
Yeah, he did a Gangnam Style video. It was also like to sell cutting Social Security.
Oh my god.
This is like a genre of
I know what the
conservative
youth's like.
communication that it's there. It's like Time Magazine used to be like this. Like if they would cover something that was like 8 years past its peak. And this, I mean, Ajit Pai went around actually during the last net neutrality fight, and he was on all the conservative media. I remember a moment where Dana Loesch said to him, like, "You're going to get Vince Fostered if you keep doing this." And I had to explain to everybody in my office, like, what that meant and why Dana Loesch knew what that was and why Ajit Pai did, but no normal human being knew what that meant. And for people who were not around during the 90s, Vince Foster was, people probably
he was
know that
murdered
now.
by Hillary Clinton.
He was murdered by Hillary Clinton, and then they dragged his body to the park to throw everybody off. But the idea that, like, he was going around onto Dana Loesch arguing about net neutrality. I mean, he went to every single show, and they thought that the Clintons were going to assassinate him for it. It's just it's completely untethered to the issue, and that's why they get able to do this.
Yeah, I mean, like Sam is right. I mean, I think Donald Trump Jr., the brains of the operation, like had a tweet where it was like, it was very clear that he thinks net neutrality was like a rule that Obama invented, where it's like, for every conservative comment, there must be 2 liberal comments.
Glenn Beck actually believed that.
Yeah.
When net neutrality was first a thing, Glenn Beck did a series of shows where he thought net neutrality was like a fairness doctrine. So he'd be like, he kept being like, he'd be like, my site, The Blaze, will have to publish communist writers. This goes through. Virgil did a funny. That was Virgil on the account where he said, "We've always been in favor of net neutrality, which means never taking sides." in online debates."
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that that's the beauty thing of the polarized moment now, is it's something that if you explain it to them, 90% of people would be like, I don't want that. I don't want somebody to just be able to determine out what I can see and how much I have to pay for individual tranches of the internet. But if you put it in partisan terms, there's like, what, liberals like this thing? It's actually bad. I don't like it now.
To be fair, 75% of Republicans are in favor of it, and I think for like,
it still ended up getting slotted into this partisan divide.
oh yeah. But I mean, I think for some of that, for guys like Mark Levin and shit, it's like, okay, that's obvious, and Dana Loesch, it's like, that's obvious. Their entire careers are paid for by like fucking think tanks and advertisers from the telecom industry and shit. But I think, yeah, for people like Donald Trump Jr. or for like, PJW, they're just fucking stupid and atavistic, and anything that they see like one people on the side of, they're like, oh, are you triggered? Right. Are you triggered by net neutrality? And you're like, I mean, their positions are completely incompatible because earlier this year, all the conservative media people were saying that we need to nationalize Google and shit. Which is and Facebook, like these, and the internet's a public utility, which I agree
We should,
with.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But that was only because like
Nate Alaska got
didn't
kicked
know
off of
that
Twitter
was a
or
left
something.
value.
they
yeah.
did right. They only said that because like
Because like the Google Doodle for one day of the month wasn't celebrating Curtis LeMay's birthday.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it was like someone on Apple's board was like, diversity is a value. They're like, this is communism. We have to nationalize it. But then to believe that, then to also go, oh yeah, ISPs should be able to charge whatever they want. They should throttle any data.
I think you're right, though. It's entirely based on this politics of antagonism.
Yeah, they just literally see people they don't like pushing for something. They're like, oh, that's gotta suck.
This is not a new phenomenon. I mean, this is, and you see it in the context of like deficit reduction. I mean, they're all just like it's all tribal identification, and it is irrelevant what the underlying issue is. It's just where does this line up in that tribal fight, and if the any part of the left is embracing something, it automatically becomes problematic. And I mean, this stuff can be undone on some level. Like this happened during the Bush administration in the 2000, I think it was, or 2001. Michael Powell, I think, switched it back.
Oh,
to
yeah.
One of the worst FCC chairmans ever, but also not as cloyingly 2009.
Yeah, he was just sort of a sweaty nerd, sort of a
Yep.
sullen dingus. But this guy, he's just,
Well,
hey,
like, this guy's
everybody.
whole thing is like he's trying to relate to like internet culture.
Yeah.
And the whole argument is like, hey, it's no big deal. Like he said, he made this video and he's
You can
like,
still get your grumpy cats.
yeah, exactly. You can still take Instagram your food. You can still do lolcats and shit.
You can still watch Mr. Hands.
Oh God.
You can still watch One Guy, One Jar. That's the video I would make.
So
That would appeal to my crowd.
Sorry, I want to read the last sentence of Benny Johnson's piece here. He says, "You may not agree with Pi on everything, and we expect he will get some hate for this, but you got to respect the guy who does the Harlem Shake in 2017."
Wrong. Incorrect.
You've got
And
to
then-
Not
respect.
true.
And the other thing I want to bring up that's like, again, like monstrous venal people, shilling for telecom monopolies, but doing it in like cool internet language. Ted Cruz tweeted this where he said, "Snowflake believing online propaganda, oh my God, without net neutrality, the internet is gone. Informed observer." You know the FCC issued that rule in 2015. The internet grew up wonderfully free from government regulation, and this restores the status quo ante. Snowflake. Never mind.
Wow. Opinionated observer do be like that, though. I mean, like, let's just forget the fact that the internet was a DARPA project for 2 decades, because it's like it's not about that. I like that Ted Cruz is fully a Fabestar conservative, Fabestar guy now, in that he accidentally likes porn and he does line break jokes now.
But like, what do you make of this is the argument that's being offered by the people who are against net neutrality is like, it's a fairly recent regulation and the internet was fine before 2015. So what are you complaining about?
Well, I mean, first off, it started out as a type 2 classification that it was a common carrier, and Powell changed it during the Bush years. But the fact of the matter is, like, people forget this, that YouTube didn't even exist in 2002. YouTube was not even a factor until like 2008 in any reasonable way. So the bottom line is just that they started to head that direction. You started to see some throttling. There was some pushback. And the internet has just not been developed enough for where they start to be able to throttle this and create multiple tiers of service. And so, 2015, you're really only talking about 5 years and when this could have even started to be positioned to happen in this way. And I think there were attempts. So once you open it up, it's going to happen. And if anybody can show any sort of, I guess, arrested development of the internet over the past 2 or 3 years, I'm open to that argument, but it's really hard one to make, and it's silly. I mean, no one believes it, and that's the thing, is that there's no one out there who is making a reasoned case for allowing Comcast to throttle their competitors. This is a lot of antitrust stuff that would have been a lot more prominent now, I think, had Trump not won.
Well, the beauty part is you don't need to make reason cases for anything. You just do things, and then you allow this hyper speed news cycle to just make them get forgotten immediately and move on to the next thing. And then it's just one day you log on to the internet and it doesn't work as good, or you got to pay more, and you're like, that's bullshit, and you don't even remember why.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing to me. I mean, I try not to get amazed by this because everything is just cultural signifiers and nothing actually means anything. But Comcast and Time Warner, they're all just like the shittiest fucking companies in the world.
Most hated among Americans, for sure.
Fucking suck. And this is like they made the government give them local monopolies so they could build up their infrastructure, and never did it. Like, if you go to any other country, if you go to fucking Spain, a country with like 138% unemployment, it's significantly better than ours. And
Felix is just mad about lag time again.
I am. It's fucking bullshit. It's impossible to get a fucking... I'm trying to unlock the fucking Arasaka rifle in Battlefield. and I'm supposed to get 3 multi-kills as a scout class, which would be easy if I had a normal connection, but no. But anyway, like, look.
When do you wake up and Mr. Hands isn't on the internet anymore?
Yeah. Do you want to...
You have to pay $5 for every viewing of Mr.
It is, I mean,
Ajit Pai, watch Mr. Hands.
It is amazing. He should.
He should star in Mr. and
He absolutely should. He should replicate Mr. Hands entirely to show me
Him
that
and
he
Benny Johnson
respects
should do a cool blit fleek viral video for Comcast and Time Warner where Ajit Pai does Mr. Hands Part 2.
I would love to see them in recreation of an early internet viral video, the Nick Berg prank. I understand if you cut that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, these companies fucking suck, and this is something that will legitimately make them even worse. It gives them license to be even worse. And because there's no actual competition, there's nowhere anyone can go. They don't give a shit because they know there's nowhere you can go. But there are enough people. Like, clearly it's not even close to like a majority of people. It's a very small sliver of the population. But enough people who are like, my guy, the big wet mule baby, did this. And so it's good. It's good that this company I fucking hate makes me sit on the phone listening to infantilizing like holiday jingles while I yell at them for my fucking shit that sucks that I pay $120 a month for that doesn't work every other day. I'm glad that he did something that makes it worse. I believe that it's better now.
Well, it could also very theoretically, I mean, whatever, this isn't even theoretical. This is likely. But, weight stuff propagandistically, and so like it would cost more to be on Left Book than it would on whatever Sargon of Akkad's fucking Sad Grotto blog or whatever.
But the thing is, it's not just like people don't spend all their time on like the rational pedophile or whatever like YouTube channel they watch. They like people watch porn. They go to their stupid, image boards where they look at like the new memes, like disappointed fire hydrant or whatever. There's a world of like content that they look at that wouldn't be in the main packages. It would objectively make almost everyone's use of the internet worse, unless you're like one of those people who just spends all your time on like the MSN homepage. Like reading new tricks for apple vinegar.
I was born a Yahoo girl. I will die a Yahoo girl.
I should just say also, it's going to degrade, I think, a lot of, ultimately it's going to degrade products, right? Because when Comcast comes out with their version of Spotify, their biggest selling point is, we can actually stream unencumbered to you.
Yeah.
Whereas Spotify, have you noticed lately, it's dropping out a lot?
Yeah.
We'll never have that problem. Now, of course, we only have 14 songs in rotation, but you can hear each one of them all the way through.
For only $85 a month,
Right.
you can listen to every U2 album.
You know what this is? Like, they're literally creating the Tim and Eric Cinco product, the MIDI organizer. They're like, that's literally what the internet is going to be like. You're like, I want to hear Camptown Racers, Dad. It's just like 9, 8, 4, 6, and then like 2 weeks later you hear.
Paul Joseph Watson's gonna walk around with a Zune that can only play like "Hello, my baby," "Hello, my dolly," "Hello, my," and he's like, "I don't see the problem. The Comcast music player is great. I love all these. Hello, my baby, hello, my ragtime doll is intelligent rap, not about bitches and hoes."
My favorite thing though about Comcast is that before the FCC vote, they had on their website about net neutrality, they had a bunch of promises, and one of them was, and they were all bland bullshit, and one of them was, we will not throttle data. And then you click on that link now after they had the FCC vote, and that one's gone.
Hell yeah, kings and pimps.
Well,
I mean, I think the ultimate result is going to be like probably in a year or two, like everyone's going to have the same internet, but it will cost like probably anywhere from like 15 to 150% more. And
well, if you want all the internet,
Right.
you'll probably be able to get a basic internet, which every single Angel Fire site will be available to you.
yeah.
I don't know. Like,
We'll be back to
Felix,
like
you
reading
can still
personal
visit
blogs.
all your favorite Geocities sites.
You make one mistake and people never
I don't know. Like
know.
if you can opt out, if for example, if there's a gamers package and you don't have to pay for the gamer, parts of the internet, and you can keep the intellectual parts like Twitter, and YouTube and
Wikipedia.
and Wikipedia, of course, and that I'd pay for that internet if it was less.
Yeah, I don't know. I would get the full package. I suspect most of the people listening would too, but like, you can live your same life. It will just cost more for absolutely no reason, so that Ajit Pai can do, like in 2025, can do a video where he references like "Here Comes That Boy," and it's fun. Like when you complain about net, you're complaining about this, but more money for telecoms means more money for the National Review publication and the Weekly Standard, and that means more mollusks that we can do for reading series that will now cost 5 times as much by the time that these sea creatures matriculate in conservative welfare publications.
Look, as long as they don't make Patreon kind of glitchy, it's fine.
Yeah. Look, if it's not, I will return to our roots, which is we do Showtime podcasts. We go on the train.
I think
We do a podcast.
Chapo!
Yeah.
Chapo, everybody!
Yeah, everyone, we got a reading series.
I think we
Just
could
walk up and down
broadcast
like
from
a
a
6
barge.
train reading
Yeah.
a Meghan McArdle column to
Yeah.
just bewildered and frightened passengers on the subway.
All right, that's our time, everybody. Thank you.
Pass the hat around, pass the hat around.
I think we'd become pirates. I think we'd broadcast from a barge. Felix would start dressing like Captain Jack Sparrow, and we'd have coast to coast listenership until eventually the National Guard sank us.
I've always thought I'd be killed by the Coast Guard.
you got to
just
go
a way-
7 miles out to escape those guys. That's the key on something like that.
Yeah, we could call it 7 Mile Radio. That's perfect.
Look,
that's our conservative radio show.
I knew he'd end up on a seastead eventually.
Yeah.
So
That's how Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain goes. You see, he lives on a decommissioned oil rig with his soldiers.
Okay, all right.
He's a cool guy. He's a
Yeah.
cool man who does cool missions.
Okay.
He has friends. Everyone
right.
respects
This
him.
is Felix's "Twas the Night Before Christmas."
It is kind of like the night before Christmas because he learns a lesson when Huey Emmerich betrays them.
stop,
Okay,
stop,
stop,
cut his
stop.
mic,
Cut
cut
it.
his mic,
Okay.
cut his
They
mic,
get a new Metal Gear.
cut his mic.
Stop it.
3 Metal
Stop it.
Before, I guess before we close, I'm gonna save the reading series for next week because it's too painful and long. However, I think we should just go out and just play some Mike. Let's listen to some pearls of wisdom.
A little
Let's do
Cernovich
from
remix.
from Weird Mike, returning again,
Celebratory and celebratory.
returning again to the Gorilla Mindset audiobook. Again, audio selected completely random.
This full list is available at gorillamindset.com/supplements. So if you think that you don't hear something, no big deal. I'm going to post this for you. Like I said, I got you back. I make all this stuff easy. This isn't even a list in terms of order of importance. It's just a list. One of these things might be great for you or not great for you, and that's why I advise trying a lot of different things. One
Strychnine.
is N-acetylcysteine. What N-acetylcysteine does is it helps your liver detox its body.
Oh God, he's listing off like neurotropics or something. It's a vitamin sales.
This is Mike on lists.
He's an Avon lady.
Let's listen to another selection.
Buying it again for the status. That's what you want to think of. Perhaps consumerism is acting as an opiate for your life.
Whoa.
Just in case, ask yourself, maybe I should change my life. So make the gorilla mindset shift. Do you need more money, or do you think you need more money to escape your current unhappy situation? Well, maybe
How
if
is
you
that
change your
different
current
from needing
situation
more
other
money?
ways, you wouldn't feel
You
the
need more
make
money to buy more fucking
Now,
brain
again,
pills.
I am not attacking money. I want to make more money this year. I want to make more money next year. And I want to have as much money as possible. Money is great, and you should go make as much money as you possibly can and then some. But the question is,
Divorce your rich wife.
Why do you want it? What need do you think it'll really fulfill? And is it going to actually fulfill that need? Be more conscious and be more mindful.
So that's Mike on money.
mindful.
Mindful.
That's his
You know his attempt to get on Sam Harris's podcast.
It'll work. He'll be on. He probably already has been on.
I would be surprised.
Yeah. All right. So just one more selection from
Mike Cernovich what he's doing is he's basically filling a gap that the left has left untapped, and that's the problem, according to Sam Harris, is that we're not virulently anti-Muslim enough, and we're just leaving the whole terrain of Islamophobia to guys like Mike Cernovich.
We have totally abandoned the field of supplement-based politics. Where is the left-wing brain pill that you could buy that's made out of like fucking St. John's wort and fucking toothpaste?
All right. One more selection from Weird Mike. Let's see what he's talking about.
To make deeper connections, you want the person you're talking to feel like you're the only person in the room.
Again, this says more
Mindfulness
about
is being
him
present is being helpful.
and
So
his
here are some things you
relationships
can
with
do.
people.
When you feel distracted during a conversation, you can check in with these mantras. Remember the mantras that we talked about earlier? I actually use these regularly, especially when there's a lull in conversation and maybe I feel bored. I say to myself, there's no place else I'd rather be.
Yes.
Oh, wait,
Yes,
did we already
there it
hear
is.
this?
Yeah, we already did that.
Yeah, we already
So
did
wait a
that.
minute. So his plan for if you're somehow drifting off and losing focus and having a one-on-one conversation with somebody is to stop the middle of the conversation and have a mantra of saying that there's no place else I'd rather be. What is the other person that you're having this conversation to doing when you're going into this weird like fugue state?
I was going to say, I'm sorry, what did you just say?
You know what the funniest thing about all of these selections are? Is that Michael Flynn like tweeted out where he's like, "This is a great book. It's helped me a lot." Like the national security advisor like read all of this and was like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, that guy. He was standing outside Gullen's compound in Pennsylvania with a giant net, trying to spread it out over a hole that he dug, and he's saying, "There's no place else I'd rather be. There's no one else I'd rather see."
Seriously though, free our boy Michael.
Yeah.
Dirty Michael.
Oh my
We're
God.
gonna break you out.
Did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong.
Is he going to go to jail for this? I mean, does anybody know?
No, he's
Probably
pleading
not, right?
down to protect him and his son, and then
He loves so
I
much.
presumably
Yeah,
I don't
he
even know
loves that
to,
son.
to maybe bust Jared or Don Jr. I don't even know. It's all pointless, and it's not even going to matter because Mueller's getting fired next week, and man, that's going to be funny.
You don't think it's going to happen between Christmas and New Year's is when I think he's
Yeah,
going to get fired.
whenever a news, whenever there is a, whenever
You're gonna hope
nobody's,
people are gonna be
everybody's
lazy.
too distracted, everyone's too filled with ham to go in the streets.
Mueller is going to get fired, but it's going to be because he sexually harassed Donald Trump. That's my prediction. I will bet every dollar that I have on that. He's like, I fucked up. I'm not even gay. I just wanted to fuck Donald Trump. I'm sorry.
As we said, we're
came on to
looking
me.
for that because like Twitter is going to be off the hook.
Oh, my
There are gonna
God.
be so many hashtags that are going to be
The
like
hashtags will be
Yeah.
insane, and the people saying we're going in the streets right after brunch. It's not happening.
What if they're right though, and like a wine mom takes out the fucking like a convoy with a grenade launcher?
Man, if the resistance, if Mueller getting fired got all of the hashtag resistance people to become insurgent Maoists, that would be actually very
They
funny.
do like Shining Path shit. That would be so fucking cool.
Yeah.
There's just a Houthis of like soccer moms who live in Northern Virginia.
Yeah. It'll be amazing.
So, what do you say? Till next time, guys.
Till next time, Sam. Thank you
Cedar,
so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
hanging out with us
All
this
right.
week. Till next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
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 Bye.
Bye.